Good evening and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Politics. I am your host, Michael Gordon. This is a very special program brought to you by the People's Progressive Party Civic, and I'd like to thank you for welcoming me into your homes, your cars, your buses, or wherever you are, whether in Guyana or outside of the borders of Guyana, and also listening to us on Freedom Radio station. So from the quarantine to the Pacorimers, I'd like to welcome you to Let's Talk Politics. Let's get right into it. I have a very special guest with me tonight, and I'll first apologize for our few minutes late start, which was due to some technical difficulties we've been having. I also would like to address a number of issues. So while my operator attempt to reconnect with my guest, I will raise some issues that I intend for us to cover tonight. Among those are, and I'm very heartened by the fact that Guyana has moved essentially within the period of just over a year, just about 13 to 14 months, Guyana has moved from the democracy or the democratic abyss of this hemisphere of the world, and Guyana has re-emerged on the world stage. We've seen His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali quite eloquently address summits of CELAC and also that of the United Nations General Assembly, where leaders from across the world addresses the developmental agenda of this globe on which we live. And undoubtedly, based on the sideline meetings that have been happening in New York with President Ali and his delegation, it is more than evident, and it is essentially noteworthy that the the attention paid to Guyana, the demands that are being made of Guyana, and the importance of Guyana that many countries have attached to this beloved nation of ours, tells us that Guyana has re-emerged out of the democratic abyss that we were plunged into just a short while ago by the David Granger-led administration. Notwithstanding that, we've seen, and I'm going to address an issue tonight of patriotism, love of country, and national pride. There are those nitpickers who get into petty politics on the airwaves on behalf of the political opposition. And it appears as though, whilst addressing some meeting, and I'm going to be very brutal about it, whilst addressing, I believe it was some one of the preliminary meetings of the United Nations, uh, our president, the president of this country, experienced what I refer to as a tongue twister. And I'm not one of those people to bury their heads in the sand. Every human being on the face of this earth has some time or the other experienced, I just did, experience, I just mispronounced the word experience. A tongue twister. So there are those petty politicians who latched on to His Excellency having a tongue twister with one word, and they have made it into a national issue. Now, if you don't have a real scandal, uh, don't make petty things, don't make a mountain out of a molehill. And I'm going to say this quite emphatically, unapologetically, and whoever is embarrassed about it, I could not and I could care less. I prefer a young, energetic, progressive, ambitious, successful president who has been delivering the goods for his country, who, in your own view, mispronounced one word or had a tongue twist on one word, than an unenergetic failure who could speak fancy. So the president of this country had a tongue twister with one word, and people made it into a national issue and a national joke. But guess what? Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali, Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali, has been delivering the goods for his people. And when I say his people, I am referring to every single Guyanese citizen. Every single Guyanese has been delivering the goods for his people. And in 1 year, he has had resounding success and more success than his predecessor has had over a 5 year period, two of which he squatted. So I have no qualms with the humanness of my president over a fancy talking failure as a president, as in the case of his predecessor. And I say so unequivocally, without water in my mouth, and it is what it is. He has been delivering the goods, he has been successful, and if our president, whilst addressing an issue in New York, has a tongue twister over one word, and you make it into a national issue, I could live with that because he has been successful. He has, and the Guyanese people have been feeling the, the, the positive derivatives of his presidency. And I take that any day over an unenergetic failure, as in the case of his predecessor. I repeated those words, and I say so unequivocally, and I say so unapologetically. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome my special guest this evening, former Minister of Health, advisor to the Minister of Health, Dr. Leslie Ramsammy. I believe Dr. Ramsammy can be described as a public health strategist extraordinaire. I don't know if I'm making a head swell, dog, but welcome to tonight's program.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here and give me an opportunity to add to what you just said in your opening remarks about our president at the UN. One of the most impactful addresses at the 2021 UN General Assembly was made by a young man who happens to be our president. I think that he made us all proud. The fact that some people pick on a word or two means that they couldn't find anything to be critical of our president. So I want to add my my own words of gratitude to Dr. Irfan Ali, who represented Guyana so well at this UN conference. I think that President Ali, in a number of remarks that he made at the UN, one about the vaccine inequity, where developing countries have had a difficult time obtaining vaccines that will save lives around the world. is a major global issue, not only affecting Guyana, but affecting many countries around the world. Our president had the courage, the vision, the boldness to look the world in their eyes and tell them that this is unfair and that we cannot use vaccines to divide the world. In boxing, they say of some really great boxers that they box above their weight limit, that they carry a punch heavier than their weight and their size. Muhammad Irfan Ali, Dr. Muhammad Irfan Ali, His Excellency the President of Guyana, did exactly that at the UN. We have spoken for many years about reparation. It has become rhetoric. It has become just talk. Nothing has happened. We have had presidents from this region, from our own country and from this region, spoke about reparation, but in a talk shop method. Our president looked at the leaders of the world and say that it is not enough for the world and those countries guilty of inflicting slavery on the world, particularly on the developing countries, to apologize. Real tangible action is needed. Our president went to the UN and spoke about climate change. That has been a topic at the UN for now decades, and urging the world that we need to take action now. If there is any Guyanese who did not feel proud about the representation this country made, but at the UN General Assembly, it is not just the address that one makes to the world. The side meetings are very important. I cannot remember a meeting in recent times where a country made such an impact, where Guyana made such an impact. I remember those UN meetings where Guyana usually come out as a country that others talked about. It was at the UN conference that Barajagdeo spoke about LCDS and placed low carbon development strategy and carbon credits on the global platform. It was at the UN where Barajagdeo uh, met a then President Chavez and made a deal on rice that transformed the rice industry of Guyana, where we went from 250,000 tons of rice to in 2014 producing 698,000 tons, more than double the production. And one of the major reasons was that Venezuelan rice deal. It was at the UN that Achebe Jagan, as Ghana's president, placed the global human order on the global agenda. And then after 2014, Guyana ceased to make an impact at the UN. We were just a visitor. It is now again, after 5, 6 years, that Guyana made its presence felt. And for that, we must be eternally grateful to President Dr. Muhammad Irfan Ali. Um, so, yes, Michael, I think it's a good way to start reminding people that just last week, Guyana re-emerged and reclaimed our place. That even though we are a small country, we are not only taking Guyana forward, we want to make an impact on the world. And I think Guyanese citizens in New York felt that energy, felt inspired. Um, so I am extremely proud of our government and the representation we had. Our Vice President Bara Jagdeo, our Foreign Affairs Minister. And it's a good time for us to recognize the kind of representation that our UN ambassador, Ms. Carolyn Rodriguez, bring to that forum. Um, for 20 years or so, under the PPP government, Guyana became a global player, small and under a developing country, a poor country, but we made our mark. And today we have returned to that place. But today we are returning not just as a country willing to take on the world and willing to make our mark, but as a potential economic giant. And through the hard work of this government, we are transforming our economy so that we no longer will play on the world stage as a poor developing country, ensuring that the world listen to the voices of poor countries. We are playing as an economic giant with our oil and gas industry, whilst strengthening the economy that we had before.
It's very
Um,
it's very instructive. You refer to last week, Doc, and all that we have said since this program began tonight must be said in the context that Guyana joined the world in observance of the United Nations recognized and initiated International Day of Democracy on September 15. This date is very important in the context of, as I said in my preamble on this program, Guyana has re-emerged out of the democratic abyss of this hemisphere and in this world, thanks to the APNU AFC and more so what took place since December 2018. Notwithstanding that, Guyana's as a country was looked at from a democratic standpoint with scorn, and now you are seeing Guyana re-emerge. This country re-emerge, and this is not just about the People's Progressive Party, Dr. Ramsammy. This is about Guyana being where it belongs. We thank God that Guyana has a PPP. However, this is about Guyana being where it belongs as not just one of the emerging economic powers of this hemisphere. But however, Guyana has over the years, and it ceased to happen, it ceased to continue in 2015, and it has now recommenced. Guyana has always provided leadership in many spheres within the Latin American Caribbean region, and at one point we had begun to demonstrate leadership, and you refer to the vice president's trajectory in relation to the low carbon development strategy. Now that LCDS continues, and it continues to be a global model. So Guyana's leadership is not just confined to this region or hemisphere. Guyana is now seen across the world, and not just as I said, not just as an emerging economic power, but also the leadership that Guyana has shown. And with Dr. Ali at the forefront of this leadership trust, I believe he too is being seen and considered to be one of the emerging senior statesmen within the United Nations framework. So I'm happy that we are having this conversation in this regard because it makes me feel nostalgic as a Guyanese and as a patriot that we are where we are today because of the leadership we have been demonstrating on the global sphere, and that leadership is as a consequence of the stewardship of our leaders of today, Dr. Ramsamy.
Yes, I think one of the important things to remember in terms of the PPP, whether it was under Cherry Jagan or Janet Jagan or Bara Jagdeo or Donald Ramutar, and now under Irfan Ali, is PPP governments always emphasize the importance of democracy. Um, when the people stood up together in 2020 to defy the dictators, this was a testimony of the hard work of the PPP over decades to enshrine in our minds that without democracy, we can't have development. Last week, even as our president was at the UN, as our vice president and the delegation was at the UN, Canada held an election. The Canadian election on March 20th, people voted from 6 in the morning to as late as 9:30 in the night. But before midnight, the the people of Canada and the world knew the results of the elections. Here in Guyana, before Prime Minister Trudeau announced the elections of September 20th, he made that announcement on August the 20th this year. We were in the process of preparing a simple ad to replace the chief elections officer whose contract was terminated. And I'm not going to go into the reasons. I think all Guyana know that. But it has taken us more than 2 months. The whole election process from announcement to declaration of results in Canada occur in 1 month. And it's 2 months now. And the ad is not yet out. It demonstrates that the threat to our democracy was not only in this 2015-2020 period, not only what took place after December 21st, 2018, no confidence motion, and not only during the 5 months of electoral heist, an attempt to thief a whole election over that 5 months, but we still are in a fight to preserve, to protect and preserve our democracy. Because unless we can put credible people to manage the electoral process, and remember that we are due to have local government election this year, and we are now already not far away from the 2025 elections. Um, and so the, the recruitment of people to manage GCOM and the electoral process is critical. And my God, if it takes us more than 2 months to have just an ad, I am fearful what will happen when we have to process the applications. So, our democracy, we defended it, but the defense is not over. The hard work continues. One of the good things is that the people are behind the PPP on this issue. Whether they support the PPP or not, that comes for election time. But we are united on one thing, and that is that the Guyanese people prefer to live in a democracy. GCOM is an important part of the process. And so we need the kind of reforms within the Constitutional Standing Committee of Parliament to ensure that our GCOM is up to the task. They have one task for one thing as part of our democracy, and that is to always ensure that we can conduct elections freely and fairly, that the elections results will be honored. Um, and 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 so I think the news last week, whilst the president and his team was were representing us so well, that the Canadian election reminded the Guyanese people that the work of protecting and preserving and strengthening our democracy is not over, that we have to continue to work on making sure that never again in this country, never again would it be possible for such an open, brazen attempt to thief an election in plain sight for the whole world to see. And it is not just a threat to our democracy. This country deserved the kind of representation we had last week, making all Guyanese, whether they are living here or whether they are living in the diaspora, that we can be proud of. What happened last year stained our reputation. We must never let that happen again.
I,
And so,
Doc, I like
yes, yes.
to I like to refer to myself as a very optimistic person. I believe even I would even go for as far as to say that I am as an individual I'm an incurable optimist. But there's one thing I'm not optimistic about, and that is once the People's National Congress forms part of the body politic in Guyana, there may never be an end to attempts, at least attempts, to brazenly and openly and barefacedly to subvert the electoral process in Guyana, as long as you have a contender in the name of one People's National Congress. So uh, I am optimistic about the PNC's attempts, but I'm not optimistic that those attempts will not be there. However, I have faith, and this speaks of my optimism. I have faith that our democracy is strong. It is strong to the.
And my brother, you can have that faith because I think that the PNC is the PNC. You know what they say about a tiger can't change its stripe? You
Mhm.
can't change your DNA. The PNC is the PNC. But that doesn't mean that what they have succeeded in doing in the past, that they can continue to succeed. They can continue to try.
To try.
But this is why the constitutional reform that we are talking about is so critical, because we have to create a system where they cannot, no matter how much they try, And imagine, with the present system, they tried desperately. There is nothing more they could do, and yet they failed. Yes, they delayed the swearing in of a new president by 5 months, but they failed because, for once, it wasn't the PPP alone in the fight. The people of Guyana rose up and defied them, and the world listened. The world just didn't listen out of kindness to the PPP. The world listened because the Guyanese people stood up and say, we will not permit this to happen in our country again. And so, with a few adjustments, we can prevent another such 5 months from occurring. And that's where my optimism comes from. It is okay if none of us believe that the PNC can change. I don't believe they can change. And not in the foreseeable future, but our country can stop them from their wickedness. And so that is why it is so important that the commission of inquiry that we talked about for what happened last year does occur. But in addition to that, the electoral reforms that we need, for example, streaming the results at the very moment that it is um, declared at the polling station. The media have to do a better job. The public have to do more because as soon as the election station post its result on the wall, which they have to do by law, that we should go take pictures of it. We should circulate it. The media should be publishing these results in real time once they're posted up at the station. See, once these things are done, the vigilance of the people will prevent wickedness from occurring. And people mustn't forget that in defending our democracy, it's not just elections, you know. Michael, I'm sure you know uh, the news of the Canadian election is one thing. But whilst our president and his team was representing us at the UN, there was a crisis emerging in America under the Del Toro Bridge in Texas. 20,000 Haitians gathered.
Absolutely, yes.
And that also reminds us that between 2015 and 2020 in this country, there was clear evidence of human trafficking of Haitians in this country. Thousands of Haitians came here, our sisters and brothers, who were victimized. They became human trafficking victims, came to Guyana. And the question you and I and our Guyanese sisters and brothers should ask is, where are they? Because we know some are here, and we have been a hospitable people to our sisters and brothers. We ourselves at one time had to emigrate to other countries. But most of the people who came between 2015 and 2020, remember every single day there was a Cooper flight from
Yes.
Panama filled with Haitians. Where are those people? And the question that begs itself right now is, could some of these people be among their Haitian sisters and brothers under that bridge in Texas?
What
Um,
begs the What begs the question to Dr. Ramsamy, and I'm going to put it, I'm not in the diplomatic mode tonight, and I'm going to challenge Mr. Winston Felix, the former Minister of Citizenship, to come out and explain where did those Haitians go. We know they entered Guyana, but there's no record of them leaving Guyana. They vanished into thin air. Very few remained in Guyana, and we know many of those who remained. But where did the multitude go, Mr. Felix? And I'm challenging you tonight directly, Mr. Winston Felix, former Minister of Citizenship. Please say to this country, I dare you to say to this country, where did those Haitians go?
And that's why I am urging that between Guyana and the US, we establish a commission to investigate this because Guyana does not want to be a human trafficking country. And clearly, whilst we know that our sisters and brothers who appear in Texas want a better life, they're not there to take anything from anybody. They're just looking for a better life. But in their moments of need, in their looking for a better life, there were charlatans who exploited their vulnerabilities. And therefore, their entry into Guyana on their way to someplace else was facilitated, I am certain, by some form of human trafficking. People don't just come to a country they don't know and find a path somewhere else. Somebody facilitated that. It's not just two or three or four or 10 person. We're talking about thousands of people that came into this country. Those are the kinds of things that threaten a democracy. And so the legacy that we inherited is now showing up someplace else. I am almost certain that some of those people in Texas were Haitians who came to Guyana, whose entry into Guyana, whose movement through Guyana were facilitated by some mechanism. I am being careful not to call names and so on. I know you did just now. I am not calling nobody anything, but I'm just simply saying that this appearance of Haitians in Texas highlight a big issue of human trafficking that has occurred in this region. And the evidence that we have of entry into Guyana, and as you put it, vanishing of these people into thin air, suggests that in that regional human trafficking scam, that Guyana may have been a part of it. And that part was during 2015 and 2020. And the government must be held accountable for that. And that is why I think that if all of us, not just Guyana, but all of us are serious about human trafficking, that this calls for an investigation. And I would urge a joint investigation by the US and the Guyana government to find out if, in fact, that 2015-2020 journey into Guyana by thousands of Haitians was part of a trafficking exercise that today is playing out under the Del Toro Bridge in Texas. I think that's a, a major criminal offense that cross borders and begs for some concerted action.
I
And
think
that's why I raised it.
I think Dr. Ramsamy, it's a justifiable observation, and I too would like to see an in-depth probe into what took place in relation to thousands of Haitians coming to Guyana and essentially cannot be accounted for between the years of 2015 to 2020. Our time is gone. We've ventilated a number of issues, but you have been, and this is very important, you have been at the forefront of Guyana's fight against COVID 19, the novel coronavirus. And we have seen many successes since this PPP government assumed office in August of 2020. We've seen many successes. There have been instances of what especially the political opposition has been pouncing on in relation to nitpicking on certain things. But one of the things that is most heartening to me is to see the continued insistence by former minister under the APNU AFC regime, Dr. Karen Cummins, uh, especially specifically as it relates to the fight against COVID and the whole notion of vaccination, the importance of vaccination. And she continues to reiterate her position that, and to reinforce the position and the point of the importance of the vaccination process. And it flies in the face of what perhaps the remainder of the leadership of her party has been doing. It's commendable, but I believe there is need for more members of the political opposition to come forward, especially for those who have been vaccinated, and but chose to remain strangely silent on this particular issue. Notwithstanding that, we continue to see the numbers of vaccinated Guyanese rise. There is that movement uh, which artificially seem to be fixed against the vaccination process, but I guarantee you, and I kid you not, that movement will not succeed. The world, and Guyana is not an island by itself. The world has been moving in a particular direction. Guyana is part of that movement, and the world has been very firm on the fact that, and individual countries more specifically, that their citizens should, and in some cases must, be vaccinated, and options have been provided, but vaccination is the key to Guyana achieving herd immunity and also to the world essentially beating the coronavirus. So you have been at the forefront, as I began by saying, Dr. Ramsamy. Tell me a bit of what has been happening recently.
Okay, so presently we have administered more than 600,000 doses of vaccine. We have administered more than 360,000 doses of first doses and over 170,000 second doses. So 170,000 Guyanese, just over, are fully vaccinated. Not enough, but a large number, much more than many Caribbean countries. Guyana is one of the few developing countries that have been able to start a process of adolescent vaccination with the only vaccine in the world that is approved for adolescent vaccination, the Pfizer vaccine. More than one third of the children between 12 and 17 years old are now vaccinated. So we have done a good job, but there are too many people who are unvaccinated right now. I would say to my Guyanese sisters and brothers, if you're not vaccinated yet, if you are 12 years and older, but particularly if you are 18 years and older and you're not vaccinated yet, the time is now for you to do so. Do not wait. The fact of the matter is, over 95% of the people who test positive on a daily basis are people who are not vaccinated. The fact of the matter is that 98% of the people that end up in the hospital, particularly in the ICU, are not vaccinated. And the fact of the matter is, more than 99% of the people who die from COVID 19 are not vaccinated. So that these numbers speak for themselves. I am happy that Dr. Karen Cummings and the whole leadership of APNU AFC have taken their vaccines. They have taken their vaccines because they know that the vaccines are safe, because they know that the most effective public health measure against COVID 19 in this country and anywhere in the world is the vaccine. They know that. But we must not double speak. When the anti vaxxers come out, whether they're teachers or nurses or doctors or other people, that they're not going to take the vaccine, and we as political leaders come out and say to them, it's your body, it's your choice, that is reckless. That is irresponsible. And that is double speak. You can, on the one hand, take the vaccine and say, this is good, but on the other hand, say, hey, you don't want to take it? It's okay. It's your body. It's your choice. That is irresponsible. We have to tell people when they say they're not going to take vaccine, that no, no, we are not on your side. We have to join with the public health leaders and say that the vaccine is the only way forward. That is the message that has to come out. They were forced to come out. You will recall that even when they took the vaccine, they never came out. They were silent. They never told people. By their silence, they said, don't take the vaccine. They were forced, they were shamed into coming out and say, yeah, we took the vaccine, you should take the vaccine. But now they're joining the people, they're holding placards, they're coming out and protesting. They should say to those who are not taking the vaccine that we are not on your side. We are with the government on this one. That it is our country. We need to protect our country. And therefore, we all must do the right thing. And if it's your body and your choice, and you don't want to take the vaccine, then do the test. And that has to be the clear message from all of us. Political leaders must not play games. When we say, yes, I've taken the vaccine and it's a good thing, but it's your body, your choice if you don't want to take it, that is irresponsible and reckless.
But Doc, it's my body and my choice to also want to be around vaccinated people.
Exactly.
On the flip
And,
side,
and this is exactly right. What about the 370,000 Guyanese, which represent close to 70% of the adult population? What happened to their rights? Because it's our body. We need to protect our body.
yes, it's our body,
If
it's
you're going to
our
come
right to
near
be
me,
protected.
yes, you need to take those actions that protect me too. So these are the things. That's why I'm saying it's double speak. You want to be on the right side of, because you know what the science say, and you say, I took the vaccine, it's good. And then say, but you're wrong to force people to take the vaccine. We're not forcing anyone to take the vaccine. We're simply saying that we need to protect everyone. And for those of people who feel uncomfortable for whatever reason to take the vaccine, then you have a choice. Go and get yourself tested. So when you enter my space, you can tell me, yes, I didn't take the vaccine, but I am safe. You don't have to be afraid because I've taken a test and I'm not infected at the moment. Um, and so those are the choices we have. We have this government has not made vaccine compulsory. We have said that to go into a public space, you need to be vaccinated. But if for whatever reason you chose not to take the vaccine, then go get tested so that we could allow you into a space that is COVID free.
I absolutely agree. And and your point justifies a comment that I have been making quite frequently on this program. In the exercise of one's right, one has to understand that your rights are not and cannot be absolute. Um, and I will fight for anyone to exercise his or her right. But I will also fight for anyone to understand that those rights are not absolute and there are limitations to those rights. And one's rights should not infringe on another person's rights. So
Exactly.
someone has a right to own land and a right to build their house, but you can't build your house on your neighbor house because you have a right to own a home of your own. So you can't infringe your right cannot infringe on mine. So if I
We have
have protected myself, my right does not infringe on yours, and the government is not infringing on your rights. As you rightly said, Doc, it has not been made compulsory. Mind you, some developed countries are heading in that direction. Developed countries that many unvaccinated Guyanese yearn to go. So it is interesting to see how that pans out because the world is moving in a particular direction. And Guyana is
exactly.
not operating in a bubble. The government of Guyana is operating in the context of a global movement to defeat the coronavirus. And the onus is on all Guyanese to ensure that they play their part in ensuring this objective is achieved. So
We have a
it is
deadly
interesting to
virus
see
among us.
where we go from here.
Yeah, we have a deadly virus among us, and we must take those actions that protect each and every life. And so we have a government that recognize that we can put our lives on hold forever. And so we say that people can go to work, but here are the conditions. People can go to the market and the grocery store. Here are the conditions. But I want to appeal to my sisters and brothers. It's not just what government does and mandate. It is what our civil responsibilities are. If we don't need to leave home, let us stay home. Um, so vaccination helps. It's the most effective weapon we have. But together with vaccination, staying at home when we don't have anything to do outside of our home, wearing our mask when we are out, social distancing still. Look, God is everywhere. I can pray in my bathroom. I don't need to go into a big gathering to celebrate my faith. There are many things we do right now that put us in danger. And so I would urge everyone, let's exercise caution. If you're not vaccinated, please do. Yesterday, a team of more than 20 public health workers left home at 4 o'clock in the morning to join their colleagues in Region 5 between Belladrum and Hopetown. They stayed there until 2 to 3 in the afternoon. They walked every street. They did 3 vaccinations. And some will say, why waste time? But it's 3 more people that got vaccinated. And I want to tell my sisters and brothers in Hopetown and Belladrum and Number 5 and all those areas where the nurses came and you didn't take the vaccine, we will be there again. We will keep coming to you because as public health workers, that's our responsibility. Many of the nurses are putting their lives at risk coming out there or going around the country. We will continue. For my colleagues, Karen Cummings and others, that on the one hand say vaccine is good, take it, but on the other hand talk about my body, my choice. Please go into communities such as Hopetown, such as Belladrum. They voted for you, comrades. They voted for you. Go and encourage them to take the vaccine
to protect
so their
themselves.
lives could be saved and they can vote for you again the next time. So that would be my appeal to people.
Dr. Leslie Ramsammy, our time is gone. I again, as usual, I thank you for some very insightful uh, comments on tonight's program. With some of the things you've been saying continue to be revealing. You've continued to shed light. One of the notable things you highlighted on this program is the fact that the percentage of COVID-19 deaths uh, is larger among cases of people who is larger among people who have not been vaccinated, and that is something that is very noteworthy to observe, to take note of, and to understand. And I thank you
Not
for
just
being
not just larger, almost exclusively among the unvaccinated.
very revealing, and it is important that people understand this. So, thanks for being a part of this program. I'd like to thank all of our viewers and listeners across the length and breadth of Guyana and in the diaspora. Those of you who listen to this program on Freedom Radio, it was an honor having you to be part of this program, and I look forward to having these discussions and more with you on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Until then, I am Michael Gordon. This has been Let's Talk Politics, a special program by the People's Progressive Party. Do have a good night, stay safe, and for those of you who have not yet been vaccinated, please do. Good night.